welcome back to another episode of Underdog Podcast. What's today? Good Friday, right? Good Friday, the day that so-called Jesus Christ got crucified. Oh man, today is one of those episodes where I said I was gonna not make fun of, but just pull the veil off behind a lot of these holidays and show you guys that not necessarily show you, some of you already know, but just really talk more about the kind of, I want to say, fictitious origins of some of these holidays. And as I talk about Easter and Christianity, I'm not knocking anything in particular. You know, I don't like religion. I like spirituality. A lot of religious beliefs are indoctrinations. I think some of the religious ideologies or philosophies really teeter along the lines of another system of control. In a sense, so you want people to behave and act a certain way. And what's the best way to get people to behave sometimes is to tell them that, they got somebody watching them and making sure that they're being good or bad. Almost like you're Santa Claus at the same time. But when we talk about spirituality, we're talking about a connection with the universe around us and knowing that there's a bigger purpose and meaning to all this. So I do not necessarily denounce the belief of Jesus or Jesus Christ, whoever his or it or her or whatever actual name is. I do believe a person of that caliber did exist around a certain period of time. I do believe, I do think rather, I do think that it was some type of prophet, someone preaching different things and different teachings, just like any other Plato or Aristotle or any other philosopher, Muhammad, Moses, prophets, philosophers. Same difference, just because they predict something in a philosophical manner. Now they're a prophet, almost in a sense, the way we kind of think about it in our minds. So and then a lot of the stuff too that as far as because I'm a guy that grew up going to church. No, I was in church on Easter Sunday, right? As a kid, I went to Bible school or Sunday school and stuff like that. My parents were not necessarily going to church every week. Actually, they didn't. It wasn't a thing. They let me and my sister decide what we want to do with our religion as far as that nature goes. But I would go to church with my aunt, my cousin, and my grandmother. So I always read the Bible, different things, stuff like that. Because to me, the Bible is one good ass science fiction story. Like it's a lot of intriguing stuff that's in it. So as it gets Friday and my kids are out of school, I'm gonna try to knock out this podcast before they wake up. And I believe their mother is on the way here too. If she wants to do an Easter egg hunt, it's funny because I don't even want my kids to do Easter egg hunt and stuff like that. Yeah, their mother's, oh, I want to do Easter egg hunt with the kids. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm gonna destroy the reality or the illusion of Easter anyways to my kids. Okay, you gotta teach them. Gotta let them know. And there's nothing wrong with still going about these traditions or believing them or anything like that. It's just knowledge is power, man. Know what you're doing. Know what you're actually into. Know the history of the origins. You can make whatever you want to make out of it. It's your life. It's your reality. Hell, you create everything each and every day, so it doesn't matter. But to me, it's like, hey, the more you know, the more you grow, right? Curiosity is something that I value a lot in myself and in other people. People that are not afraid to ask the tough questions. By tough, I mean those that you have to break through your own mental, psychological, emotional barrier, and often your spiritual barrier to question, hey, what the fuck am I actually believing in? What am I actually thinking about? So as I say all this, now I go on and talk about Easter and Christianity and stuff. There's still a person that thinks somebody, Jesus Christ, not in the name itself, but someone of that nature was walking around, was existing, and whether that person was an alien or a human being, wherever the case may be, I don't know. I do think that person was teaching some things. I kind of go off a little bit more from the agnostic Bibles that were discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Well, I think in the early 20th century, something like that. And more talks about uh, finding God, the universe, the heaven within yourself, which also leads a little into Buddhism. And there's also the theory that Jesus was a Tibetan monk or whatever, a Buddhist monk, and during those 30 during those time frame when he was gone, he actually went over to Tibet or Nepal, somewhere over there, and it was more or less Buddhist preaching. I don't necessarily believe that or think that Jesus Christ died on the cross and was resurrected 3 days, all that stuff. That's not me. But I try to find the positivity in the stories and, the moral of the story. I'm trying to find anything like that. So before I get into all this stuff, I just want to throw that out there. I always like to clarify my thought process and what I'm talking about, because sometimes it helps. Because I'm not coming from it helps to let you guys know what type of perspective I'm coming from, as opposed to, oh yeah, look at this is a fucking lie, that's a lie. Like I say, I'm always like, oh, this is a lie, that's a lie. But it's more or less about trying to understand the world around me, because there is nothing more intriguing, more interesting than the reality in which we reside in, and the constant fakery and false illusions put on around us, questioning whether anything is actually real or not. And stuff like that is always intriguing to me, because you don't really fucking know. And that's the best part. People talk about heaven and hell. You don't really know where heaven and hell is at. If heaven and hell exists, I don't think it's on this plane of existence. But that goes on to something else. I should probably just talk about that one day too. I'm gonna go ahead and get into this and try not to eat up too much time, because, well, apparently I got things to do today. Got a fucking Easter egg hunt that I didn't know about till like an hour ago while I was at the gym. Oh man, talk about planning. So we're gonna go with the definition from Britannica about Easter. Okay, so it says it's written by Hans J. Hillerbrand. That's not a German name. A professor emeritus of history and religion from Duke University over in Durham, North Carolina. So that'll let you know where it comes from. As far as this, I don't know how a definition is written by someone, but hey, and oddly enough, it just got updated on the 31st. Okay, whatever. We're gonna go with this. Let's see. All right. And why is the computer? Why is the web page lagging a little bit? See if I can clear up some RAM space. Should help it about. All right. So it says Easter. It's Latin for Pascha, Greek for Pascha, principal festival of the Christian Church, which celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ on the third day after his crucifixion. So crucifixion would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Wait, is that how you count 3 days? Right? Because Good Friday is when you get crucified, right? So I guess you count Friday as a day. You know what? I'm already into it. I'm already asking the question. And that's what you're supposed to do. As you read stuff, ask a question. Like, it doesn't matter. If I sound dumb, I don't care. You understand? Like, you cannot let what you think is stupidity or intelligence stop you from asking a question. We've all been in class and someone raised a hand and asked a question, like, oh my God, why this person asked a stupid question? But it's like, nah, man. Just because you might not find it as just because you find a question kind of idiotic or simplistic doesn't mean the other person doesn't find a question more intriguing. So it says the earliest recorded observance of an Easter celebration comes from the second century. Second century. So we're talking about what? Approximately 200 years after the birth of Christ? Over what? Approximately 100 years after he died? It's interesting because Jesus Christ was not a Christian, right? He was Hebrew. Yet, Jesus Christ, Christianity is based on Jesus Christ, who was not a Christian. I always thought that was interesting. I get the connotation, or I get the meaning behind it, rather. But still kind of interesting. And it says though the commemoration of Jesus' resurrection probably occurred earlier. I like how it said, but it probably occurred earlier. Okay, I mean, you're trying to go with historical facts, but you're like, oh, but it probably occurred earlier. Cool, got it. Wait a minute, I didn't cleared some RAM space and it didn't do nothing. It's still optimizing. Okay, cool. The English word Easter, which parallels the German word Ostern, Ostern, is of uncertain origin. So no one knows where the shit comes from. Cool. It says one view is spun by the Venerable Bede in the 8th century was that it derived from Eoster, Eostre, or Estra, Eostrae, the Anglo-Saxon goddess of spring or fertility. So often you'll hear that Easter is associated with Estra, with the god of fertility, German god. I thought it was a Greek god, but one of your pagan deities, meaning pagan meaning outside of the so-called religious norm or social norm at the time. So outside of the city or outside of the village or something like that. Or in pagan usually has different or multiple deities. They're usually not monolithic, polytheic, multiple gods, religions, or spirituality. But spring and fertility seems to be a thing that is Easter, regardless of how you want to talk about it. You're still talking about spring. And Easter eggs, you're talking about fertility. So keep that in mind. It says this view presumes, as does the view associating the origins of Christmas on December 25th with pagan celebrations of the winter solstice. A lot of Christian religions revolve around pagan holidays. The Christians appropriated pagan names and holidays for their highest festivals. Once again, if you want to take over a country, a nation, or a citizen of people, and you want to indoctrinate them or have them worship what you want them to worship, one thing you do that is by overtaking their religious holidays or overtaking their celebratory holidays, whatever, their celebrations. If you can capture the culture of a people and change and infiltrate their culture and change it around to what you want it to be, guess what? Now you have rewritten their history and now you have gotten their attention and now you can influence them. Almost like what we see in our mainstream media, not mainstream media, but like what we see. Actually, yeah, mainstream media helps with that as well, but also what you see in movies, TV shows, music. A certain propaganda or a certain agenda is pushed into these mediums of entertainment, and they're attached to a certain type of culture. Thus, you can influence a whole bunch of people based on their attachments of that culture that they reside in or that they claim to adopt within themselves, or the so-called categories like skin color or sexual orientation, sexuality, whatever. It says given the determination with which Christians combat all forms of paganism, the belief in multiple. Okay, this appears a rather dubious presumption. There is now widespread consensus. Whew, here we go. Man, widespread. There's no widespread mentions. There's no widespread evidence of election corruption or election integration or whatever. I can't think of the actual name right now. Widespread evidence. There we go. It's widespread consensus. Like, what does that actually mean? What the fuck does widespread consensus mean? A lot of people are, like, and that the word derives from the Christian designation of Easter week in the albi, ALBIS, a Latin phrase that was understood as the plural of alba, ALBA, meaning dawn. And it goes in more and talking about all that stuff where it says a Latin and Greek pasta, Passover, provides the root for Pakis, the French word for Easter. So trying to tie it into Passover, which is more of I want to say, a Jewish holiday. Yeah, because Passover is is when the Hebrews celebrate their exit from slavery, or I think an exit from Egypt, if I'm not mistaken. Ooh, it's been a while since I really dug into uh, religious history. So it says the date of Easter is controversy. Okay, fixing the date on which the resurrection of Jesus was to be observed and celebrated triggered a major controversy in early Christianity, in which an Eastern and Western position can be distinguished. The dispute, known as the Paschal controversies. God, what happened to my screen? Okay, that just went black for no reason. That was odd. And then again, there's always some odd things happening while I'm trying to stream and record. But it says, as the pastoral controversies was not definitively resolved until the 8th century. So, as I'm reading this, understand, all right, make sure you put in your head that, because as I'm reading this, I'm thinking the same thing. So, as I'm saying you, the hypothetical you, I'm talking to myself as well out loud, like always. The biggest thing about this is there is no, even though they say they have now widespread consensus, how can you have widespread consensus on something now, but no one had no widespread consensus back in the 2nd century, 8th century? So clearly people were just making up shit as they go, right? So how can you trust or believe in any of this when we're talking about hundreds of thousands of years of time going by and no one really knows what the fuck is going on? Because you have to laugh at this stuff, man. Because when you really stop and think about a lot of these things, it's really ridiculous. Because logic has exited the building. It just doesn't make sense. And I understand having faith, but man, how can I gotta be able to wrap my head around something before I'm able to actually have faith in it and believe in it. I don't like to not necessarily believe blindly in something, man. Like, give me something, guy. Give me something. It says in Asia Minor, Christians observe the day of crucifixion on the same day that Jews celebrate the Passover offering. That is on the 14th day of the full moon. So on the 14th day of the first full moon of spring. So what I get from there is first full moon. First full moon. So now we're worried about the lunar cycle. And then it says first full moon of spring. So now I'm thinking of, oh, we're celebrating the spring equinox, same as we celebrate the winter equinox with Christmas. Makes you wonder, right? Are we just, once again, celebrating the rotations of celestial objects? Because that's what it seems like, right? It's on the 14th day of the first full moon of spring. I mean, it doesn't sound like an accurate one set date in time. And that's as a Jewish calendar, because 14 Nicene. So that's on the Jewish calendar. So obviously, we're not talking about Gregorian calendar that many of us in Western culture, obviously in America, goes by. So my thing is, there's no real set date. And when you talk about historical events and historical accuracy, if you don't have an actual precise date or narrowing it down to a certain time frame, now I got questions, bro. I got questions because I don't know what to think. I don't know what to expect anymore because what you're not giving me any real precise, consistent, factual information. So all I know is you're just changing shit for whatever reason. And to be honest with you, a lot of historical things, and especially when you're talking about uh, things of more of a scientific nature, the facts are always changing because the more you learn, the more you try to understand and stuff. But to sit here and push all the stuff off as absolute truth is dishonest. It's flat out dishonest. And that's what my real issue is with all this stuff. A lot of things I talk about is the dishonesty. Everything I'm pointing out is a fakery, and the fact that a lot of things are not really concrete in truth, but they pass off as that. And then when they want to switch up and change it, them being scholars or people in government and pushed by so-called celebrities or whatever else, they just throwing out shit. They're just throwing out shit. So it says the resurrection then was observed 2 days later on 16th Nicaean, regardless of the day of the week. Regardless of the day of the week. This is in the 8th century in the Asian Minor. So this is focusing on Eastern culture, which I don't know how you get East and West on a round circular object, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. In the West, the resurrection of Jesus was celebrated on the first day of the week, Sunday, when Jesus had risen from the dead. Consequently, Easter was always celebrated on the first Sunday after the 14th day of the month of Nicaean. Increasingly, the churches adopted for the Sunday celebration, and the Quattrodecimas, 14th day proponents remained a minority. Blah blah. Okay, kind of lost on that, but whatever. The Council of Nicaea, which anytime we're talking about Christianity, it always comes back to the Council of Nicaea. Because this is more when the Romans are involved. It was, I think is it Constantine or Constantinople? I think it's Constantine the first, I believe. I think, rather, if I'm not mistaken, which I probably am. But as always, do your own research. The Council of Nicaea in 325 decreed that Easter should be observed on the first Sunday following the first full moon after the spring equinox. Easter, therefore, can fall on any Sunday between March 22nd and April 25th. So when I talk about going to school, Sunday school, and being in church and listening to pastors preach and all that other stuff, I pay attention to patterns throughout my life. And I remember what happened previously. I think we all do. We just sometimes don't want to. Or we've been programmed to suppress our own curiosity and our own questioning of the reality around us. Because my idea or my thought process growing up, and even as I gotten older, especially when I had my kids, is when the fuck is Easter every year? There's no set date. See, with Christmas, they just said 25th, we're going with that. But that goes along with the sun supposedly stopping. You check out my podcast where I talked about Christmas and stuff, and more how it really relates to the sun and how people observe the sun in the sky. God's son, Jesus is God's son, the sun. Anyways, and so Easter therefore can fall on any Sunday between March 22nd and April 25th. I don't know about you, but that's a lot of fucking days to supposedly celebrate a historical event that should be fixated on one particular date. Now, I understand history has passed on, so it doesn't have to necessarily be one specific date, but you can at least narrow it down or something. The fact that this all revolves around the rotation or the observance of celestial bodies makes me think that you're just celebrating a pagan holiday. You're celebrating celestial objects. You're celebrating the spring equinox and the first full moon. So you're celebrating the sun and the moon. You're celebrating the sun and this rotation the rotation or our rotation around the sun, whatever. And you're talking about the moon cycles, the lunar cycle. So majority of paganism or a lot of religious stuff really revolves around celestial objects. Because when we look up to the stars, we see heaven, right? They're so bright and stuff. We look up to the stars. Why probably another reason why we look up to them, as opposed to saying we're looking out to them. Sometimes you hear people say we look out to the stars, which is actually a more correct saying if you want to go with that. You want to say the Earth is round and not flat, or you want to say it's some type of object. But that always bothers me that they just say, oh, we're just going to say, hey, let's go with this. Because now man is intervening. And we're talking about Jesus Christ, and we're talking about a heavenly spiritual creature, and we're talking about a supreme being deity. There needs to be a lot more approximation, then yeah, anytime between March 22nd, April 25th, based on this, based on this. So wherever the spring equinox is, that's when we're gonna celebrate it. But we're not celebrating the approximation of when Jesus actually died and rose from the dead. That is what bothers me about all this stuff. Because if you can't pinpoint a certain time frame, how do I know that you're being honest about everything that's going on and you just didn't say, hey, let's go with this date. We're good. Oh, whenever it happens, it doesn't matter. We'll just throw it out there. Eastern Orthodox churches use a slightly different calculation based on the Julian rather than the Gregorian calendar, which is 13 days ahead of the former. But the result of the Orthodox Easter celebration usually occurs later than that celebrated by Protestants and Roman Catholics. So all the denominations of Christianity don't even know exactly when they're gonna celebrate fucking Easter, right? Let's throw it all out there. If you can't get all Christians and all denominations of Christianity to come together on one certain day to celebrate one holiday, that's an issue. That's an issue. In my eyes, that's an issue. And even with the Council of Nicaea in 325 saying, okay, well, we're going to do it on this date, I understand the logic behind that, trying to get it all together. But once again, I also understand if you're trying to control and not necessarily even control, if you're ruling over people or you're trying to govern over people and you want everybody to be on the same page, well, you're like, you know what? Well, shit. How about we all just do it on this day? Everybody okay with that? Everybody agree? All right, cool. Fuck it. That means you pagan people, you still get to celebrate your stuff because we're going with the spring, the solar equinox, and the first full moon after that. So you get to celebrate your paganism, and the rest of you monotheists, Christianity and stuff like that, you get to have this, and we just line up on the same day, make everybody happy, right? Because that literally is what it sounds like. It's like, hey, let's make everybody happy. Fuck it, let's do it on this day. Yeah, but it's not a consistent date. It doesn't matter. I think it's as good as we can get right now. You imagine imagine being back in these times and stuff and sitting there and thinking it from a realistic standpoint. And people are probably sitting there just like, man, fuck it. What do we do? Let's just do it this way. Nah, I don't think we should do it this way. How about we do it this way? And it's like, you know what? Nah, yeah, fuck it. Let's just do it this way. Well, if the people don't like it, doesn't matter, man. We'll just find some way. They'll like it. Who cares? If we do it enough times, they'll get used to it, and then they'll like it. Just winging it, man. And in the 20th century, several attempts were made to arrive at a fixed date for Easter, with the Sunday following the second Saturday in April specifically proposed. With the Sunday following the second Saturday in April specifically proposed. While this proposal and others had many supporters, none came to fruition. Renewed interest in a fixed date arose in the early 21st century, resulting from discussions involving the leaders of Eastern Orthodox, Syriac Orthodox, Coptic, and Anglican and Roman Catholic churches, but formal agreements on such a date remain elusive. Exactly. So they even try until this day. They're still trying to find a certain fixated date. Now, once again, you're changing things to what? Make everybody be in agreement. Get everybody on the same page. But if you're trying to stay true to the core of what you're celebrating, you need to go back to the drawing board and really go back to the original historical proven facts and find something around there that can give you an exact date. Or you can't. And that's the problem. Can you actually find something from when it originally was celebrated? Or is it okay just to still allow whoever wants to celebrate in the manner in which they celebrate? Because at the end of the day, what the fuck does it even matter? Are you actually celebrating Jesus Christ being resurrected? Did that actually even happen? And see, this is the thoughts I would have as a kid. And it doesn't make it seem like, oh man, wow, you were actually thinking that as a kid. Oh, you were thinking it as a kid as well. Everybody's thinking it. You're like, hey, why is there Easter? Why is there an Easter bunny? Why are we doing these Easter eggs? What the fuck is Easter again? Jesus Christ dying, being resurrected. So what does that have to do with Easter eggs? What the fuck? Why am I boiling eggs again? Like, this is the stuff we're talking about, man. Like, a lot of this shit doesn't make sense. No one really stops and questions because human beings just like to celebrate shit. Like, it doesn't really matter. Human beings just like to celebrate shit. And it kind of goes on and on. You guys go ahead and check this out on your own, but I just kind of want to touch on that a little bit. So here's an article. This is 11 years old. I'm glad that they've put it out there. So it's from 2010, but it's on The Guardian. So it says the pagan roots of Easter. It says from Esther to Estre, Eostre, the roots of the resurrection story go deep. We should embrace the pagan symbolism of Easter. It says Easter is a pagan festival. If Easter isn't really about Jesus, then what is it about? Today we see secular culture celebrating the spring equinox, which Britannica literally just said. So Britannica is an updated version coming out, being updated on March 31st, 2021. And this article from The Guardian is from 2010. Let's see if they have any more particular similarities in both of what they're talking about. Okay, so whilst religious culture celebrates the resurrection, talking about as far as being on the spring equinox. However, early Christianity made a pragmatic acceptance of ancient pagan practices, most of which we enjoy today at Easter. The general symbolic story of the death of the sun, S-O-N, and sun, S-U-N, on a cross, the constellation of the Southern Cross, as his rebirth. Overcoming the powers of darkness was a well-known story in the ancient world. There were plenty of parallel rival resurrection saviors too. And when I talk about the history of Jesus Christ and stuff like that, Zeitgeist movie was one of the things that broke it through for me. Like I said, I always watch the History Channel, and I'll never forget. I grew up watching the History Channel a lot, and I would love to watch things about Jesus Christ and Christians and early Hebrews and I will sit there around this time of year and just watch stuff on the History Channel, on the Discovery Channel, TLC, whatever, PBS. If I could sit there and just learn about. And I always hear like a lot of conflicting stories, but mainly what I got out of all that is that no one knew shit. At the end of the day, nobody knew anything. And I was like, how can people follow all this and no one really knows anything what actually is going on? And it's like, hey, does anybody ever raise their hand and question, hey, exactly why are we doing this again? I just need to verify why we're doing this. So I'm okay with what we're doing and making sure we're all on the same page. But nobody really stops and asks questions. So as I was watching a lot of this stuff, my first base being in Guam, I remember watching stuff on History Channel. And I remember Netflix when it first came out. See, when Netflix and YouTube first came out, that's all they had was a lot of documentaries, especially with Netflix, because, well, they didn't have that much money. So you're talking about buying a license agreements and stuff like that. It was a lot of documentaries. So Zeitgeist was one of those documentaries that I would watch on. I think I watched on Netflix. I think I watched on YouTube. And I watched this several times over the decade because it's like, I have to remind myself where a lot of this stuff comes from, man. And the story of Jesus Christ has been retold over and over and over, which is actually this article goes into. It's funny how you have a mainstream publicated or syndicated article. The Guardian was talking about this shit in 2010. And it's like, did we go away from that? Because now when you bring up Christianity and religion and stuff, now it's more from a atheist standpoint, meaning, oh no, none that exists, doesn't matter. But it still doesn't come from a spiritual standpoint. Because this is still all spiritual. This is still all talking about the stars or whatever, or beings that are more advanced than humans, or maybe interdimensional beings. It's still we're still talking about an understanding of the universe around us, knowing that there's more than just us, and we're probably not, I don't know, the most advanced thing ever to walk the face of the earth. And that's what it's about. Now, I don't do atheism because to me that doesn't make sense at all. Oh, it's just us and that's it. There's nothing else. Maybe part of me cannot go with that either because I'm like, well, that sounds really fucking depressing and boring. Like, you imagine? I just want to get people that don't believe in like aliens stuff because like you're telling me this is it? It's just us? So-called whole big universe, whatever, or maybe we are just in a goddamn snow globe and it's just us because none of this shit makes sense. And to be honest with you, part of me sometimes like, maybe we are in a snow globe on someone's shelf and just someone's just sitting there watching us grow, right? Like a fish in a tank or something. I think South Park and The Simpsons did an episode on that. You know what? I think Rick and Morty did an episode on that too. So, man, stupid springtime allergies. Ah, that's so annoying. So it says the Sumerian goddess Inanna, Inna, or Esther, was was hung naked on a stake and was subsequently resurrected and ascended from the underworld. What? Also understand the story of Jesus Christ wasn't told the first time. The resurrection, all that stuff was told thousands of years in advance before Jesus Christ, which kind of is disturbing, right? Jesus Christ is, the standing point for one whole religion, yet the story itself was was a story that was told before. Now you could say, well, man, that means Christianity and Jesus Christ goes back even further and in different parts of the world. Still, we were talking about in the Middle East, though, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Jerusalem, or Israel, whatever. Okay, it says one of the oldest resurrection myths is Egyptian Horus. Your eye Horus. That's probably why I got a tattoo of it, huh? It says born on 25th December, Horus and his damaged eye, right, became symbols of life and rebirth. Born on December 25th, Horus, Egyptian god. Pagans, right? Because the polytheism, they have multiple gods, pagans, right? Although I don't think they would be considered pagans because that was the centralized, or that was the main religious deities at the time, during the time of more of the height of the Egyptian empire. It says Mithras was born on what we now call Christmas Day. And I didn't get into that one in my Christmas Day episode on and stuff. Man. And his followers celebrated the spring equinox. Oh my God. And I think Mithra was what? Let's see. If I click on, it's going to take it to a Wikipedia page. Are you serious? Let's see. When is Mithra from? It looks like the date goes back to the 4th century. It says the mysteries were popular among the Imperial Roman army from about the 1st to the 4th century. So yeah, they all over the fucking place with that. I don't even know. Once again, nobody really knows, but it's okay because really you just should learn from it and move on. But so you have Mithra, born on Christmas Day, and the fall celebrated spring equinox. Even as late as the 4th century AD, the Sol Invictus associated with Mithras was the last great pagan cult the church had to overcome. Dionysus was the divine child resurrected by his grandmother. Dionysus also brought his mom, Semele, Semele, back to life. You see, a lot of it is associated to each other, huh? But once again, it could still be referring to one being, but at the same time, when does this one being actually exist? Hell, even more so, it could be the same being being resurrected over and over and over to different parts of human history. Because, I mean, at this point, it's all on the table. Like, it's all on the table. No matter how wild and no matter how crazy it might sound, it's all on the table because we don't fucking know. At the end of the day, we have no clue. So all this is out there in the open. It says in an ironic twist, the Cybele cult flourished on today's Vatican Hill. Cybele's love Attis was born of a virgin, died, and was reborn annually. This spring festival began as a day of blood on Black Friday, rising to a crescendo after 3 days and rejoicing over the resurrection. So this whole resurrection thing is just a recurring story over and over and over and over and over and over. But then again, if a being actually is dying and resurrecting, well, shit. Life and death, in the sense of what we know, does not exist to this being. So this being literally could just be doing it over and over in different religions or different cultures in different times and throughout human history. Like, we should be expanding on these religious beliefs and and expanding on some of these doctrinations and expanding on some of these historical tales and facts. Instead of being stuck in a certain belief, we should constantly be pushing our thoughts. Like, push your thoughts to the limit, hit that limit, and then move past that limit. I always try to think of the most outrageous thing I can think of. Because if I can allow myself to push past those mental barriers that have been in place on us, and we're talking about modern civilization as far as the propaganda and stuff, if you could push past those things and constantly be more curious and more curious and more curious, you find yourself at a level of understanding that almost seem to be impossible to achieve, because really you got to that place by asking all types of questions where you thought they were smart or dumb. You just kept asking questions and kept asking questions and kept asking questions and kept asking questions. Why does it need to stop? And a lot of times we like to ask questions and then we hear an answer and we're like, okay, we're good. Because there's something within the human species where we want to hear an answer and be like, okay. Like, we want to find a sense of stability or some type of foundation. We're like, all right, well, I know this is because I asked this question, I got an answer, I'm good with it. Because even the things I think, that's why I try not to say I believe in, because the things I think might be correct, I'm still not holding on complete faith that they are correct, because in the back of my mind, everything I know still can be fucking completely false, incorrect, wrong. All the stuff I know can still be a complete thing that I have no, can be completely false, incorrect, and I have no idea what is going on. So it says, so eventually, actually, I think I skipped some parts. Okay, there was a violent conflict on Vatican Hill in the early days of Christianity between Jesus worshippers and pagans who quarreled over whose God was the true. I mean, talking about the Crusades, apparently it happens. Hell, still today it happens. Because when people have a strong belief in something, once again, an argument of logic versus emotion, and instead of trying to find the balance, the middle ground, people lean on one side. And you can't be too logical and you can't be too emotional. It says, what is interesting to note here is that in the ancient world, wherever you had popular resurrected God myths, Christianity found lots of converts. So eventually, Christianity came to an accommodation with the pagan spring festival. Although we see no celebration of Easter in the New Testament. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're telling me Easter was not talked about nor celebrated in the New Testament? And the New Testament is literally the Bible for Christianity? Because Old Testament it's funny because Christianity, Judaism goes together because they both recognize the Old Testament, but Hebrews do not recognize, or Jewish people do not recognize the New Testament, I believe. I think, rather. I gotta stop saying I believe. I think so. And Christianity's mainstay is the New Testament. Yet, Easter is not mentioned in the New Testament. That doesn't, like, make anybody question anything, right? That doesn't. Like I said, anytime we was growing up, we talked about Easter in church and stuff, or when I was growing up, they just kept talking about the resurrection. It was talking about Jesus dying on the cross and stuff. But I once again, I was always like, well, what does this have to do with Easter baskets and bunnies? Is this something that you guys got going on for kids because you think it's fucking funny, or I don't know. Like, what is going on here? It says, although although we see no celebration of Easter in the New Testament, early church fathers celebrated it. And today, many churches are offering sunrise services at Easter. Yes, I've been to those when I was a kid. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was like, God damn, well, I got. I was just thinking about it. I'm like, God damn. God damn. God damn. And I'm talking about Christianity. If there's a hell, there might be a spot there for me. Talking about blasphemy. If there's a hell, there might be a spot for me. But we're talking about Dante's Inferno. I at least think I might be in the second level of hell. Maybe purgatory. Purgatory. Second level at best. At worst, no, at best, purgatory. At worst, second level. Yeah, that's where I feel like I'll probably be at. God be like, oh, or Jesus be like, oh, you didn't believe in me? I'm like, I'm sorry, man. The story just didn't. Hey, it's not my fault, guy. Oh, okay, I got something for you. This is what we do to people. Doesn't that sound kind of spiteful when you think of God in a reference like that to send people to hell and stuff? And doesn't that sound kind of spiteful? You ever read the Bible and stuff and kind of question like, God damn, I did it again. God is kind of God's kind of being a dick sometimes. I kind of get pissed off, seem a little jealous too, right? It's funny how we personify our deities as well. Interesting, right? So it said, yeah, so an obvious pagan solar celebration, right? The fact that I get why it's in this article it has in quotation sunrise services, right? Sunrise services, solar celebrations, sunrise. The sun rises again. God's son is resurrected. God's son has risen. Sunrise services. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. If you're religious, and I piss you off, tell you that's your emotional attachment. I'm just telling you, when you think about some of this stuff, it makes you question, does it make sense? Because it's a lot of things that don't add up. That's all I'm saying, man. It's not my fault, right? I didn't create religion. I didn't write up all this history and stuff. I'm just a guy that has some questions. I'm just a regular person. It's like, hey, I kind of want to go with this stuff, but a lot of shit you're saying doesn't add up. I'm sorry. That's it. That's me. Call me the skeptical. I'm just a skeptic. Maybe a little critical, maybe a little cynical. Probably definitely cynical. But hey, I just got some questions, man. What you said is not adding up. That's all I'm saying. So it says the date of Easter is not fixed, but instead is governed by the phases of the moon. How pagan is that, right? It's like, who wrote this article, bro? Let me check this out. Who wrote this article? Heather McDougal. Oh man. And see, you can kind of see the even a little propaganda, some of the agenda right there, trying to get people to remove their religious faith. But once again, this does not affect my spirituality. Like, I still believe in a higher power. I still believe in the overall supreme conscious being. I still believe, and when I say believe, that's what I'm literally saying, believe. Not necessarily I think. I do think, but a part of me does actually feel it, that I believe there is some higher celestial being, but I also think I can't necessarily comprehend that. I had a conversation with my kids one day, and I was trying to explain to them about spirituality. I was like, hey, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, and I don't, if you guys want to be religious, that's your choice. Do I necessarily want y'all to be religious? No, I want you to be spiritual, but if you choose to be religious, then that's your choice. I had to read the kids' Bible before, and I remember my ex-wife was like, why are you gonna read the Bible? You're not even religious. I'm like, because this is what I did when I was a kid. Like, it just kind of open up your thing. I mean, I can only kind of try to teach them some things that I learned myself. And this is what helped me open myself up to the idea of spirituality, because it's what you already feel inside anyways. So I proposed a question to my kids. They were sitting down eating. I had to fuck their heads up. I was like, you think God exists? And they were like, yeah, we think so, whatever, stuff like that. I was like, what is God then? They was like, I don't know, something this and that. I was like, here's the real thing. A lot of people believe in God and they think God exists, but let's be honest. Can we as human beings actually even comprehend what the overall capital G God is? Really question that. Can we actually comprehend what God is? Can we try to personify God? And we do this a lot of, even with in paganism, a lot of even in monolithic deities. Like, how do you actually think you can understand understand what God is? So we're still trying to understand the concept of God from our human perspective, and in the more recent modern human history, recorded human history, as opposed to really asking the question and really trying to have a spiritual awakening of the concept of God, let alone trying to comprehend what God is. I think it's a little egotistical or a little narcissistic to sit here and think we know what God is. Like, to me, it's like, wait a minute, human being, who the fuck are you to think that you know what God is? Why do you think you know what God is? That's a, you really think you can comprehend that? You human that don't know what your gender is, don't know what's going on in your life, right? You human that goes around the concept of money that doesn't exist. You humans that can't even get on the same page to further along the species and hold hands and work together. Yet somehow you human can sit here and think that you have the balls or the audacity to even know what God is. No one ever thinks of that nature and that perspective. Like, wait a minute, because that's an ego check right there. And I was all the time I talk about booze and the little bit that I do know and stuff. I'm like, checking the ego, letting go of the ego. So as I sit there and I'm thinking and I'm letting go of the ego, I had to let go of the realization, like, who the fuck am I to think that I know what God actually is? And that's why I don't do religion. I just go with spirituality. I know, and I was telling my kids, and I'm like, and it messed their head. I was like, hey, man, how do we know? I kind of started breaking down. So I was like, do you know how big the planets are? Think about how big the sun looks. Now think about how big the sun would look if you was actually outside of the so-called atmosphere of Earth. And so you even realize how big the planet is? And they've been around the country and stuff. So I'm like, do you guys even know how big? Like, you don't have a concept. And once again, obviously we're talking about kids, but at the same time, there's still people that have never really left their state, never literally left their country, as far as the United States of America, and there's people around the world never really, has not actually ever really left their city, right? So the concept of size is still beyond our own thinking. So yet here we think we can understand what God is. And you see a lot of this stuff in religion is just us trying to understand something that we have no fucking clue. And it's also some human being saying, man, let me take this God stuff because these people are latching onto this and use it as a way to control and manipulate them. And now you're seeing the swing of the other end of the spectrum saying, okay, let me destroy the idea of religion and not implement any spirituality, but rather let me bring in science and atheism and evolution and tell people, oh, don't worry about all this. You know, we, the government, are this central authority. We'll take care of you. But really, there's supposed to be a balance. There's something in the middle, and no one ever sees that third option. We're such a binary thought process. It's always this or that, 1 or 0. No one ever sees the third option. No one ever sees that extra perspective, which is interesting because we're in the third dimension, right? Length, width, height. Yet it still seems to be that no one really sees the height. They only see the length and the width perspectives. Does that even make sense? I feel like it does. Actually, kind of makes a lot of sense now I said that out loud, huh? All right, once again, I deviated. Let me go back to it. It says, all the fun things about Easter are pagan. And bunnies are leftover. Bunnies are leftover from the pagan festival, Eostre, Eostre. I don't know why I'm saying that all wrong. A great northern goddess whose symbol was a rabbit or a hare. And even some of this is disputed now too, so take it for what it is. It says the exchange of eggs in an ancient custom celebrated by many cultures. Hot cross buns are very ancient too. Hot cross. Oh my God, I didn't realize that was the thing. God damn it! I remember it's like the first song you learn how to do when you're a kid. At least for me in the school I went to, was how to play Hot Cross Bun on a recorder. Anytime you want to play an instrument, hot cross buns, da 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 da, da hot cross buns. I kept the things you remember that you don't realize you remember until you sit your ass down and try to think about the things you forgot. Because you'll be surprised. You don't really forget that much. You just don't care about it anymore. So a lot of memories are not just about your thought, but they're also attached to your emotions. But you gotta find that balance. Fucking hot cross buns, right? I was not expecting that. It says in the Old Testament, we see the Israelites baking sweet buns for an idol. God damn it, that's where that comes from. Shit. And it says, and religious leaders trying to put a stop to it. The early church clergy also tried to put a stop to sacred cakes being baked at Easter. In the end, in the face of defiant cake baking pagan women, they gave up and blessed the cake instead. It's funny too, because anytime we have any type of celebration, no matter what, we have a feast. You realize that human beings just love to celebrate shit and love to have a big ass meal. Like this is it. Like all our holidays result around some. I mean, there's some meal attached to it. Think about it. Even the 4th of July, right? Celebrating the Independence Day of America, which is odd when you think about it, because whatever. Anyways, why we not celebrating when everyone has signed? You just go off with the first signature. But whatever. Anyways, what we do? Cookout, barbecues. Why? Why not? Because when we celebrate shit, we just want to eat shit too. We just want to have a party, bro. We're still tribal. Like we're not that advanced at all. We're not that evolved at all. We still just want to party. And for whatever reason that we want to party, we don't even give a fuck. We'll just find a reason to party. Right? We'll just that's funny. We'll just find a reason like Thanksgiving. Doesn't fucking matter. We just want to get together and have a big ass meal and hang out. Oh man. Oh man. Memorial Day, let's barbecue. Labor Day, let's barbecue. Maybe it's an American thing, but when you look at history, every time there's a celebration, there's always a bunch of food. We just want to party. It's that kind of joyous nature. It's like, fuck it, man. Let's just have fun. Fuck the world. Let's just do whatever. So it says Easter is essentially a pagan festival which is celebrated with cards, gifts, and novelty Easter products. But when you hear pagan, people don't realize that's still spiritual. Just because it's pagan, it's still spiritual. Religion is still spiritual. Spiritual, yeah. It's just when you're talking about religion, then you go with doctrines and so that and how you're supposed to live or behave or act a certain way or whatever the case may be. But religion and paganism, or modern day, or monotheism and polytheism, it doesn't matter. It's still spiritual. It's something bigger than yourself, something bigger than the human species, trying to connect and have an understanding of the universe around you. It says now it's Easter products because it's fun and the ancient symbolism still works. It always struck me that the power of nature and the longer days are often most felt in modern towns and cities, where we set off to work without putting on our car headlights and blah. Okay, whatever. Oh my god, that really. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. That really made me laugh. That really made me laugh. How we really just love to put food and stuff into our holidays. Like, hell, man. Kids right now are off for Good Friday, and I was having a conversation with my friend yesterday, and she made a good point because it's like, yeah, especially when you're talking about American culture, where you want to say America is based on Judeo-Christian things or whatnot. My thing is that what I find interesting is that, like what she was bringing up, is the fact that no matter what, right, we're celebrating a religious holiday. As far as my kids and other kids around the country being off on Good Friday, like we're celebrating a religious holiday. Yet we don't really celebrate a religious holiday. Same as Christmas, we celebrate a religious holiday. Everybody's off, but you also have Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and other and so-called religious or spiritual holidays around that time frame too. But once again, what we really celebrating? Celestial objects. the sun, the sun. And it's like spring is here. Let's take a day off to celebrate that the sun is out and stuff. And we're no longer worried about winter. Funny enough, it's cold as fuck now in Florida. It's like 40, 50 degrees, which is cold as shit for Florida. And especially when it was just like 90 degrees not too long ago. So when it's 90 degrees and the humidity makes it feel like 105 or something like that, and all of a sudden the humidity goes away, a storm comes in, bringing cold weather. Next thing you know, it's 50 degrees, and now I got a hoodie on in my house because it's 73 degrees in the house. It feels like it's freezing. I got goosebumps and stuff. Granted, my body temperature is a little fucked up, but still, when you go from one, not extreme, but we go from something really hot to something else, and it's kind of like, oh man, kind of throws you off a little bit. There's two videos I want to show you guys, and I can't remember which one I want to go first. Let's go first with this one. So, for auto plays.
What are the origins of Easter? Do we find it within our...
It still played. It's funny how you click pause and stuff so it won't play, and then it still plays. Crazy, right? So this is from February 27, 2017. And this says Pagan Origins of Easter. And this is from Yahweh's Restoration Ministry. Let's see who they're talking about. This Yahweh's Restoration Ministry. Yeah. But it's saying so it talks about whether the origins of the Easter holiday, are these origins Christian or pagan? Should a Bible believer celebrate Easter? Notice that Yahweh as opposed to like Jesus or something like that. And why Easter celebrated, blah, blah. So we're going to listen to this guy talk and kind of break down, or not necessarily break down. I'm going to commentate and interject my stupid ass things that I'm going to say.
Father's word, or do we find it within pagan worship? Let's find out.
Cool intro, bro. We don't need that. There we go.
Hey, this is Pastor Randy. For today, I want to talk about the origins of Easter.
You said Pastor
I want
Randy?
to talk about whether or not we find
Randy
this day within Scripture, or whether we find this day within pagan worship. And I want to remove the suspense. We don't find this day within Scripture. We find it within pagan worship through antiquity. Matter of fact, it goes back thousands of years, really. But today we're going to focus on the word Easter and the origins of Easter itself. And I want to read three different sources. The first one is from the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia. Very, very reputable source, by the way. This is not a fringe reference. This is very reputable and recognized by most Bible believers.
Okay.
And here's what it says about the origins of Easter. It says the English word, and again, this is Easter, the word.
So it has the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia. And, well, I'll let him read it.
Comes from the Anglo-Saxon Esther, or Estera, a Teutonic goddess to whom sacrifice was offered.
Different spelling. So it's Esther, E-A-S-T-R-E, and not E-O-S-T-R-E. That's why I was having a hard time trying to pronunciate it, because I still want to say Esther in my head. And it's different once you see the pronunciation, because you can also say Istra, I-S-T, right? I-S-T-R-A, or Estra, which would be I-S-H-T-R-A, something like that. I think I just read it in one of the articles, yeah. Words can easily be changed, especially when you're talking about spellings, and you're talking about being lost in translation. A lot of people go off the King James version of the Bible, which is interesting, because why would you not go off go after the Greek version of the Bible as far as the New Testament? Why would you not go back earlier on? When Jesus spoke Aramaic, why do Christians not speak Aramaic? But then again, I think when you so-called speaking in tongues, then that's Aramaic, I think. I seen that shit happen before. Family members and people at church, they're speaking in tongues. I'm just like, hey, this look kind of like a scary movie, bro. You ever see someone catch the Holy Ghost? That's it. I was in church and that happened. I was like, this is kind of odd. What? Because this is all my mom like, this is remind me of like some exorcism type of shit, like exorcism, I should say, rather. It just kind of made me kind of suspicious, or like you catching the Holy Ghost, the spirit is in you, but I'm like, I don't know what spirit just got in you, because we're conjuring up some spirits, bro. Just because we think they're positive spirits. I don't know about you, but if a spirit is not positive, is really negative. Guess what? If I wanted to kind of invade it or jump into someone's body in this dimension, I'm gonna act like I'm a benevolent being. it's easier that way. I face less resistance when you think that you're not under any attack or threat. Almost the same type of propaganda that the United States government does, right?
in April, so the name was transferred to the Paschal feast. Now the word Paschal here refers to the Passover.
Wait, did he read that?
In April, so the name was transferred.
Okay, so yeah, a Teutonic goddess to whom sacrifice was offered in April, so the name was transferred to the Paschal Fest. Okay.
To the Paschal feast. Now the word Paschal here
Feast,
refers to the Passover, not to the Easter. So we see here that Easter replaced Passover. Now we know historically and scripturally that the only day the apostles and the Messiah observed in the New Testament was the Passover. Never once do we find Easter. I know it's in the King James. Believe me, it's not in the Greek. It's not in.
I mean, even in perspective, if Jesus Christ was walking around living and stuff, he's not going to celebrate his own death and resurrection. That's probably not something that's going to happen. But what he did mention was the apostles, so the followers of him. Because after Jesus Christ supposedly died and resurrected, the people that followed him, they didn't die. They kept going on and stuff like that. Right?
New Testament scriptures is simply missing from antiquity. So when did the church adopt the Easter celebration? Well, let's find out. I'm going to read another source here. This is from the New Unger's Bible Dictionary. Again, a very reputable source. It says the word Easter is of Saxon origin.
Saxon origin.
It says Estra, the goddess of spring, in whose honor sacrifices were offered about Passover time each year. By the 8th century, Anglo-Saxons had adopted the name to designate the celebration of Christ's resurrection. So we see here
just adoption.
When this transition occurred, it occurred in the 8th century.
Which we just read about on the Britannica website when it broke it down. So all I'm getting at is, nobody really fucking knows. So it's like, don't worry about it. Let's just go with it. That seems to be a recurring theme when we're talking about modern human history. No one really questions anything. If they do question it, like, it doesn't make sense. Fuck it. Let's just go with it. Our thirst to find an answer is our downfall, because instead of the answer being complicated, instead of us recognizing that a lot of these answers to our questions that we're looking for might be complicated or complex or beyond our understanding or require, a little bit more patience to have a better understanding. We just want, bam, an answer. That's it. We just want a answer. You ever take those multiple choice questions when it's like not just A, B, C, D, but it's like pick the best possible answer? Military does a lot of this shit, especially, I'm going to say talk more about Air Force, my own personal experience. So when you do a lot of testing in the Air Force, there will be certain times where it has questions, especially in Airman Leadership School, which is ALS, supervisory school. Once you become a non-commissioned officer, staff sergeant, you have questions like, choose the best possible answer. And that's where the brainwashing comes in, because it's not best possible answer to you. It's what does the Air Force think is the best possible answer. So you got to learn how to think like the Air Force. I had a friend and she was getting good scores on some of the tests we were taking. And she was like, I'm not smart. She was like, I just took one of these trainings before, so I know what's the answer the Air Force wants you to have. So just pick the answer with the most information in it, and that's usually the answer. So a lot of times when we're trying to find an answer to a question, we always want to find that one absolute answer. In reality, though, it's never really just one thing. That's why I was talking about someone saying, like if you have an attack or a mass shooting or whatever, they always try to pinpoint to one specific thing. We don't actually think in that type of manner. We don't ever just do anything just for one thing. And if it is for one thing, it's mainly because we just wanted to do it. And really what it comes down to is that I always get on this with my kids. I'm like, why'd you do that? Oh, this and that, or this and that. I was like, no. Get to the core root of why'd you want to do that? Why did you want to do that one thing that you did? And they always say the same thing, because I wanted to. And that's what it is. Because you wanted to do that, because you want to believe in this, because you think this is right, then you'll start creating a whole bunch of things, a reality around that to make up for that one thing. So we want to have a specific answer, but really there's probably a lot of stuff that's going on, and in order to find an actual answer, it's not just going to be one simplistic thing. It's going to be complex, mainly because we're talking about thousands of years after the shit actually happened or supposedly happened. Yeah, we're trying to answer something as far as the origins of Easter, and we only know the shit even existed if it really actually happened as far as the story of Jesus Christ. When you really think about this stuff, you gotta admit, sounds like a fairy tale, right? I mean, I'm just being honest. Sounds like a fairy tale, because actually it sounds like a bad story, because the details ain't even there, bro. It's just like, oh, fuck it. Who cares about the plot holes? Let's just throw it out there. I'm gonna piss someone off with this. Oh my God.
Hundreds of years after Yahshua had come and gone, he was resurrected. Hundreds of years after this point did the church adopt Easter in its liturgy. And we see here that it adopted
years
it
after
from
the fact.
Anglo-Saxons, from pagan worship. Or I want to read one more reference. This is from the Nelson's Illustrated Bible Dictionary. And here's what it says about Easter. It says, Easter was originally a pagan festival honoring Oster, a Teutonic Germanic goddess of light and spring, at the time of the vernal equinox, a day in the spring when the sun crosses the equator and the day and night are of equal length. Sacrifices were offered in her honor. As early as the 8th century, the name was used to designate the annual Christian celebration of the resurrection of Messiah. So we see here,
like, this is what I'm talking about, man. I'm gonna read it again. It says Easter was originally a pagan festival honoring Oster, a Teutonic Germanic goddess of light and spring. So this is from the Nelson's Illustrated Bible Dictionary. It says, at the time of the vernal equinox, the day in the spring when the sun crosses the equator, your southern cross, and day and night are of equal length. Sacrifices were offered in her honor. As early as the 8th century, the name was used to designate the annual Christian celebration of the resurrection of Christ. I mean, I don't know. Do people ever actually go into thinking this? And let's be honest, some people don't want to think about this because we like those softball answers. We like that easy answer where it's like, oh, there's just this. Now you can break things down to a simplicity, but you have to get to the core of it. And seeing how we're 1,000 years after the fact, well, guess what? You got thousands of years of stories and informations and evidence and all that stuff laid on top of each other, where it's a little murky. You don't really know what's going on. So if you're a Christian, you really should be questioning, what the fuck it is that you believe in. You might lose your religion, quoting a REM song, losing my religion, but hey, doesn't mean you gotta lose your spirituality.
Again, when this transition occurred, it was the 8th century. Again, it's just amazing to me. If you look at history, if you look at the Bible, what you come up with.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at him because he's just like, you can tell he just want to call everybody a fucking idiot. Because he said, it's amazing to me. That's that, when someone says that, it's amazing to me. They're thinking about someone's thought process. They're literally thinking, it's so crazy how a lot of y'all are fucking stupid. Like, you can tell he just wants to say that. He just wants to be like, yeah, y'all are fucking stupid, bro. And see, I stay away from stuff like that because I don't want to question anyone's intelligence because, well, fuck, what is intelligence, right? But hey, some of us don't necessarily think in a logical manner, right? A lot of us go off emotions and we don't want to think about logic because, well, logic, thought process hurts the brain.
There's no denying the pagan origins of Easter. Again, this is not in the Bible. The Messiah and his apostles, they never observed this day, and even worse yet, according to all these references, and believe me, there's many, many more, confirming the origins of Easter. This came from the Anglo-Saxon pagan worship, and we find that it occurred somewhere around the 8th century. So very, very important. As a believer, and this is so important, so listen to this. This is so important. As a believer, it's critical that we worship our Father in heaven as he defines within his word, because when we don't, when we worship another way, Yahweh says he has no honor for that. He has no respect for that, because he wants us to worship as he defines within his word, not as our church may say worship is, not as our... All
right, I'm not listening to that no more. You're going on to something else. But it's funny because I'm like, I said my ex-wife wanted to come to the house and stuff and do Easter egg hunt around the house with the kids, something I'm gonna have to be like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. Okay. Oh, co-parenting. You try your best, bro. Guess what? Even in a marriage and in a household with two parents, stuff, you're still co-parenting. So, and I'm thinking, I'm also sitting there thinking like, my daughter has the first volleyball game tomorrow, Saturday, and she plays at a church. Or do they know this? Like the least religious person is in here. and my kids play YMCA basketball. But it's also interesting how some of these churches, especially local churches, stuff like that, or church organizations, Christian organizations, seem to be the only one having anything to do with fucking kids. Because the city of Lakeland does not have anything going on as far as this sports, because everybody's worried about COVID. But Christians like, well, don't worry. We're not worried about COVID. We believe in God. And that's why I'm like, you know what? I don't agree with y'all, but God damn it, fuck it. I'm going to go with it. Because it doesn't matter, man. We can all disagree and agree at the same time. It's a crazy concept. The fact that you can disagree with religion and still agree with what they're doing. I agree with that they want to open up and have things and activities for kids without kids being forced to wear a mask and stuff while they're playing or whatever. Their parents choose to have them do that. That's their choice. Not mine. I'm not doing that. My kids run around with no mask on and play basketball and play volleyball. They live their lives. Crazy concept in this world, in this day and age, living your life. Crazy concept. But I'm sitting here thinking like, man, we're going to go to a church tomorrow and they're probably going to be talking about Easter. And I'm just going to be like, I'm sorry. I already told my kids some shit you're not going to tell them. Don't worry about it. You always got to teach your kids yourself, man. I mean, yeah, school and stuff like that, but yeah, talk to them yourself. So we're going to show you guys this last video. It's from the History Channel because, like I said, I love the History Channel, bro. But watch the disinformation or pay attention to the disinformation in this video from the History Channel. This video is from April 4th, 2012, which is what? It probably was Easter that day, right? It probably was Easter that day. In fact, no, Easter probably was the 5th. This probably came out on Saturday. Maybe it came out on Friday. Oh man, I like how they try to make it all. I was like, wait a minute, I wrote that. This is fucking stupid. I didn't even realize I wrote that comment. I didn't even know when I did that. It must have been yesterday.
Easter, the holiest day of the Christian calendar, a celebration of Jesus Christ.
Right off the bat, it's the holiest day of the Christian calendar. Why is it not Christmas?
Christ's resurrection from the dead.
I'm gonna get all types of copyrights too. It doesn't matter because if it seems like if I go more than 30 seconds without saying something or anything, even if I pause it, I get a copyright. It's not very whatever.
Will have to do with a bunny delivering painted eggs. The answer lies in 100 generations of rituals and customs.
100 generations of rituals.
According to the Gospels of the New Testament, Jesus Christ and his apostles entered Jerusalem to observe Passover.
Yes.
The Jewish holy season that celebrates the Hebrews' release from slavery.
Okay, that's what I was talking about.
After the Passover supper, Jesus was arrested. And on what is now called
Good Friday, you got some dinner and then you get arrested. Like, God damn. But whatever. Jesus knew it was coming anyway, so he was like, well, let me get this last meal in. Right? He's like, let me get my last meal in before one of you guys betray me. Interesting enough too, because Judas has his own testimony, which I think is our part of the Gnostic Bible, or rather, it's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And Judas' testimony is like Jesus picked Judas to betray him on purpose, which means, guess what? Jesus set himself up. So people don't like to hear that, man. But yeah, it's a perspective.
Crucified. 2 days later, he rose from the dead. Those of Jewish origin were the first.
So 2 days later, okay, whatever.
To celebrate the resurrection, likely as a new facet of the Passover festival.
Yes.
In fact, the Easter celebration was called Pascha.
Pascha.
It's derived from the word Pesach, the Jewish translation for Passover.
Passover. So Paschal. I was saying Paschal
Originally,
all over the
Easter was
place.
celebrated 2 days after Passover, so it fell on any day of the week. But Easter Wednesday...
So originally 2 days after Passover, any day of the week. And then all of a sudden now we celebrate on Sunday. Because of the first full moon. Wait a minute. So that means it's a full moon Sunday, or is it a full moon? See, now even more questions. So, but then we just decided to make it go to, oh my God. That's what I'm talking about. I think I already read this stuff, but man, yeah, even more as you try to think about it, it just still sounds really fucking confusing. And it's confusing not because it's complex in a sense, kind of a little bit less of what I was talking about earlier, but more in a sense of just everybody kept rewriting history, saying, oh, no, let's do it this way. Oh, no, let's do it this way. Oh, no, let's do it this way.
Didn't feel right. In
It didn't feel
325
right.
AD, Roman Emperor Constantine and the Council of Nicaea ruled that Easter must fall only on a Sunday.
Okay, so
the
yeah.
day when Christ rose.
That's what I was reading earlier. See how quickly we forget sometimes? Man, I got my own medical issues for probably why, but still. They just decided, yeah, let's do it on a fucking Sunday. That's not a problem? That's not a problem.
Easter Sunday would be the first Sunday to follow the full moon after the spring equinox.
Okay, so yeah. So it's the first Sunday to follow the full moon. Because even as I'm talking about this, I'm trying to keep up with it, and it's still all over the goddamn place. And that's the problem, man. You want to celebrate something, yet it's all over the place. So it's the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. I'm sorry, I thought it was 2 days after Jesus died. Right? I thought it was 2 days after Jesus died. Shit, makes me wonder too, because what about with Hebrew, with Jewish religion, as far as when is actually Passover? Because that seems to be a lunar cycle in the way in which they do their calendar.
Anywhere between March 22nd and April 25th. Around this same time, Christians began one of the first recorded rituals of the modern Easter celebration, the lighting of the Paschal candle, its flame a reminder of Christ's resurrection, light out of darkness.
Light out of darkness. I don't think I
Christianity
remember
spread
doing that
throughout
in church.
Different pagan customs blended into the holidays. In fact, the actual word Easter may have come from Estra.
You see how I said it blended? Not that it was intentional, but it just kind of blended together.
Goddess of spring and fertility.
Now, some of the disinformation starts to come into this video. So we got like a good minute of so-called historical fact, and now we're starting to get some of the disinformation. And even as a kid, when I was listening to this, because I know it says 2012, but I think it's original days even for. You know, it's interesting because a lot of stuff that's uploaded on the History Channel, YouTube page. The History Channel actually would repeat episodes, and as time went on, they would update it and change different things. And I always thought they would update and change different things based on more factual information. But now, as me being older, I'm realizing, you know what, they'll probably just change shit because they wanted to. Propaganda and disinformation.
The Easter egg. Eggs have been a mythological symbol of birth for thousands of years. Christians adopted the egg as an Easter custom sometime around the 13th century.
Okay. So if eggs have been symbol with birth, why don't we have eggs or egg hunts during Christmas when Jesus supposedly was born? Why is it only done in April, in springtime? Go along with pagan religion, right? Because it just said eggs has something to do with the birth. But I guess a resurrection is a rebirth. I don't know how you comprehend that, but I don't comprehend that the same way. Resurrection is hey, you're still in your adult body or whatever. But you're just not actually the first time you've been born. So why don't we have, I don't know, egg hunts during Christmas if eggs symbolize birth?
The yolk inside a shell represented Christ's emergence from the tomb. Eggs
Okay.
were painted red to represent the blood Christ shed on the cross.
Okay. So that's why I
The
said
colorful
make this shit
Easter
make
egg
sense.
soon hatched its own traditions. A popular one was egg rolling. In 1876, Congress prohibited kids from playing on the Capitol grounds.
You can't make this make
So,
sense.
President Rutherford B. Hayes opened the White House lawn to the little rollers. After that, the White House Easter egg roll became a tradition. So when did that
Look at
Easter
Bill and
bunny
Hurley.
hop into the scene? The fertile rabbit had long been a symbol of new life in European pagan celebrations.
So the
Beginning
rabbit
around-
is a symbol of new life. Once again, why do we not see a rabbit? Why am I not eating rabbit stew at Christmas time?
the 16th century,
Right.
parents told children that if they behaved, on the eve of Easter, the Osterhaus would come and lay colorful eggs. Children built
Notice how these things are always used in a manner to get kids to behave and act a certain way. Controlling people. Notice a lot of these a lot of things in human society always revolves around some type of manipulation or some type of control. Christmas, Santa Claus is a way to get kids to behaving. Easter Bunny, Easter gifts is a way for kids to behave. You know it when you're growing up, more or less talking about American culture. When you're growing up and stuff, and these holidays come around, when your parents say, "Oh, make sure you behave and stuff because you'll get an Easter basket." I think my mom still might try to do Easter baskets. I've been stopped doing all that shit because how can I do Easter basket when I know things like this? Because I don't want to continue these. And this is my own personal thing. I'm not criticizing anyone else, but for me, if I am the person that I'm trying to be, and expand upon that, I don't want to continue these false lies and stuff like that. And this is my own perspective, because I don't think none of this stuff has anything to do with child innocence or anything like that. That's just me though. That's my own opinion. Because I'm like, I'm not gonna, if I know this stuff doesn't have no validity, it seems to be inaccurate, has some falsehood around it, and don't really know, I don't want to have my kids have these celebrations and stuff. Yet, once again, I don't just have the kids by myself. For the most part, I have their mothers in their lives too. So she wants to do an Easter egg hunt. Of course, I think the shit is fucking stupid. I'm not gonna lie to you. She knows I think it's fucking stupid, but I'm like, whatever. That's her kids as well, so she does those certain things. But guess what I'm gonna do? I think I already explained to kids anyway. Easter egg is stupid, but I'm sitting there calling it stupid. It doesn't make sense. I shouldn't say stupid. I'm trying to be positive. But it's these little things and stuff that you get. I just don't like it because I don't want to push on traditions when I have a hard time understanding why the fuck we have these traditions anyways. I hope that makes sense. I don't know.
guests in
Who
their
knows?
homes to entice the rabbit to visit. And so began the customs of the Easter egg hunt.
I
and the
never
Easter
told him
basket.
an Easter bunny
To
was
help
coming.
fill out those
Nah,
baskets, 19th century
I ain't telling my kids
European
about Santa Claus.
chocolatiers began making egg-shaped chocolates. The sweet trend quickly spread throughout the world. Today, billions of dollars are spent each year on Easter candy.
Oh, look what happens. Corporation comes along and says, "Oh, we can make money off this shit." Billions of dollars are made every year. Money, money, money. You don't think they was doing that back in the Roman times too? Like, hey, you guys you really should do this. Oh, here's some Easter eggs for your kids. Like, what? I thought it was Jesus. No, yeah, but you can still do something fun for the kids. So here. Oh, okay. Well, how much do I owe you? Oh, you owe me this much for the eggs and stuff. Okay. Hey, you want to dye them? Huh? Yeah, it'll be cool. Cool. Yeah, the kids will like this. Kids will like the different colors. And you can like throw them around and stuff and make them go search for it. Like a little hunt. And a little game and stuff. Okay. Well, I don't have any dye. But don't worry, I got some dye for you. Now, here, buy this kit. And trust me, I think the last time I gotta start saying that too. I think the last time I did an Easter egg, or I boiled Easter eggs and colored them with the kids, I think they were 4 and 2. Then after that, I was like, okay, why am I doing this still? Like, if I know this shit is shady and this is some wild stuff, whatever. Like, once again, you can still go with all this stuff or believe in it or whatever the case may be, if you just have an understanding of what's going on. But with my understanding of what's going on, I'm like, Now I'm at the point where I'm like, well, no, I don't want to do this stuff. But every year, the family members and stuff like that want to do Easter egg hunts and Easter baskets. My friends and family like, oh, you gonna get the kids anything for Easter? I'm like, no. They're like, you're not gonna give them nothing for Easter? No, I'm not. I don't care if I seem cynical or an asshole or like, oh, you gotta let them have fun. Yeah, they are gonna have fun. I tell my kids, we ain't gotta have a goddamn holiday or anything to celebrate anything. Like, if we want to celebrate something, shit, we'll fucking just celebrate it. Doesn't matter. Your birthday is not today. Who gives a shit? We'll still go do something. Who cares? Let's just be happy you're alive today. Why you gotta wait for a birthday? Why you gotta wait for this some type of fixated day or to find something to have a commemoration or some type of celebration? Fuck it. Just celebrate you being alive. Shit, who cares? Who cares? Just celebrate. Because clearly we just want to celebrate something for whatever fucking reason. Yeah, we don't actually need a reason to celebrate anything. We can just celebrate our existence whenever we choose to. Why every day isn't a celebration? Because we celebrate every day, then to us it doesn't seem to have the same impact. We gotta do it seldomly, but we're not necessarily doing it seldomly. We're having these celebrations when we're told to have these celebrations. And with corporatization, now it's billions of dollars. It's Easter bunnies, it's those little peeps, right? It's a little Easter egg Whoppers. I love those shits, man. I don't buy that shit though. But it's a little Easter egg Whoppers, Easter candy, all types of stuff, right? Then after that is Memorial Day. Then it's 4th of July. And then there's next thing you know, it's Labor Day. Then it's Halloween. And we're all doing the same thing over again, constantly. Finding something to celebrate. And we just want something to celebrate. It's really just like an illusion. It's like, hey, we need something to celebrate. Okay, let's give these guys something to celebrate. Let's go with this. All right, cool.
Easter. It's a joyful day when Christians celebrate the resurrection.
It's a joyful day when Christians celebrate. And then it went back to saying, it's going back to saying it's a joyful day when resurrection is celebrated, even though you just talked about the paganism attachments to Easter. See, disinformation just kind of glossed over that, right? It just kind of glossed over like, whatever.
Some fun. But Easter is also the time for families to gather and welcome spring. When new life emerges.
What I say?
Time for families.
It shows what? Families together eating a goddamn meal. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. I'm sure my family member's gonna cook some food for Easter. And like, what are you doing for Easter? Nothing. But if you're gonna cook some food, I'll come eat your food. Cause shit, that means I ain't gotta cook nothing or pay for anything. So yeah, I mean, I'm that person. I'm that person like, are you gonna come to our party? Yeah, but I'll be the first one to say, hey, I'm not bringing nothing. I'm like, oh, okay, we know you're not gonna bring. Some of my friends and family is like, oh, we know you're not gonna bring you nothing. Just go ahead and come. I'm like, yeah, I'm letting you know. I'm that asshole. I'm that bum. Where I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna come eat your food, talk for a little bit, and then leave. Because if you decide to have a party, that's your decision to have a party. My decision is to bring my ass there, eat your food, and leave. What an asshole, right? Oh my God, what a complete dick. But it's funny. Because I didn't decide to have a party. Because if I do decide to have a party, I'm like, don't worry about bringing anything. I'm going to take care of it all. Take care of it all. And if you bring something, you make sure you take that shit home with you. Because that's what you brought. You can share with everybody else, but you take that shit home with you. Anytime I have a party or anything, like, hey, if you want to bring something, go ahead and bring something. But you take that shit home with you, bro. Unless it's something I like, then you can leave it. But I'll make that decision once I see exactly what you got and I tasted it and it tastes good. But if I don't like the way it tastes, I don't like the way it looks, you take that home with you. So I go to the party and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, if I bring something, I'm bringing cookies. But if I bring something, actually, you know what? Let's see.
Gather and welcome spring.
Yeah, this video is over with. But so when I go to parties and stuff, or like staff meetings or something like that, it's like, oh, Sergeant Jackson, you gonna bring anything? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, you never bring anything. I'm like, why would I? Or if I do bring something, like, oh, or they make it where, okay, you gotta bring something. You can't just bring paper plates or cups. Like, that's not essential, but whatever. It was like, so you gotta bring something. I'm like, okay, I'm bringing cookies. Well, what cookies are you bringing? The ones that I like, because I'm gonna take them home with me. What an asshole selfish thing to do. But it makes sense. If I'm gonna bring something, why would I bring something that the rest of y'all would like? I'm gonna bring something that I know, if anything, I'm gonna eat myself. That way I'm guaranteed to eat something here because I brought it. Like, I don't care, man. I don't care. I'll always bring like dessert, or cookies or something like that. Apple pie. Oh, and then they're like, oh, you didn't bake it? You didn't bake the cookies? No. I went to Publix and I bought the shit. You think I was gonna waste my time baking shit for y'all? No. Oh man, I ain't shit, man. I ain't shit. I really ain't. People are like, you're so nice. I'm not. I'm not a good person, man. I try to be. But yeah, sometimes I succeed. Sometimes I fail. I fail horribly. Mainly because I'm not even trying to be a good person. I'm not even trying to be decent. But yeah, man. As this Good Friday and you guys wrap up the weekend and stuff, and you go off and have your Easter dinner and stuff, just remember what is actually going on. Just stop and think like, what the fuck are we all doing here? As my ex-wife come and bring her ass over to my house to do a goddamn Easter egg hunt around my house, I gotta sit there and be like, what the fuck is this shit for? And she know I don't care. She know I don't like it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because that's what she wants to do with her kids. That's what she wants to do with her kids. And my kids, they'll find some joy out of it. I think she said she's gonna put some like money in it or something like that. Way to teach them to be greedy and search for money. This shit I say to them too. I'm like, hey man, hey, don't get too attached to this stuff, y'all. Being greedy, searching for money and so whatever. Just don't let the money control you. I always got to throw in my 2 cents and interject. Like, hey, sometimes you gotta bring them back down to reality. Like, hey, just be cautious of what you're doing and check yourself. But that's my whole spiel on this whole Easter shit. If I piss you off because of your religious beliefs, that's not my problem. That's not my problem, because you're letting your emotions get in the way of some logical thinking instead of maintaining your emotions, handling your emotions, and really sitting here to process some of the information and stuff. And anyways, you're probably already curious about where are the origins of Easter yourself. So if anything, once again, it's a brainstorming session. We're just shooting the shit. We're just talking, right? And you're going to be like, you know what? Let me go look this shit up. I think this guy's a complete dumbass. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. So let me go look this shit up. And now you're thinking for yourself. And that's my whole point. That's my whole point. We're all just going to think for ourselves. And the more outrageous thoughts I tell you, the more people are like, oh, what is he talking about? It's so stupid. He's such an idiot. I don't even know why I listen to this guy. And I know why I listen to him, because he's a fucking idiot. And he's funny to listen to because he's stupid. And then you go into your own personal thoughts and start thinking about some shit, because you're too busy thinking I'm stupid. Hey, you gotta use yourself some time to spread knowledge around the world. And if you look like a fool, you look like a fool. But who's a fool? The one that thinks they know everything, or the one that says he doesn't know anything? Something to think about. As always, check out a live stream Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I definitely did the shit earlier today because like I said, my ex-wife coming up and doing stuff with the kids, whatever, blah, blah. So I want to go ahead and get this out and record it and stuff and upload before she comes, get on my nerves. And make sure you guys check out the website, my blog site, DamienJackson22.com. That's Damien, D-A-M-I-E-N, the same way as the movie from The Omen. Or same way, yeah, same spelling from the movie The Omen, which I don't know why people always try to spell it a different way. My name literally comes from that movie, The Devil's Son. Oh my God, one big irony. My whole existence is one big laughing joke when you think about it, right? My whole existence is one big laughing joke. That's why my sense of humor is so twisted. It makes you wonder, am I slowly going insane or not? Sometimes I question that. But yeah, definitely check out my material. Go to my website. You see the links to my social media accounts, my podcast links, different digital platforms in which you can listen to the podcast. The audio version, I upload the video version on YouTube and Odyssey. Check those out. Check out my other content I got going on. Go back to the catalog of which of my podcasts I got. You might hear some other shit because that's tend to reference a lot of things. And universal laws. Universal law of polarity. Right? Light and dark. There you go. Threw that in there for the episode. Didn't really put it in there in no specific type of way, but it exists. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your Easter. And when you look at those Easter eggs, you're going to think about Estra. You're going to think about the paganism that is involved in your Christian religion. Or you're going to be like, fuck all this. We just go eat some ham and have some boiled eggs and call it a day. Man, whatever, man. It doesn't matter, man. Go spend time with your family, friends, your loved ones. Enjoy the day. Enjoy yourself. Be good. Be positive. All that good shit. So until next time.